Fun with Stories. This podcast contains audio advertising. To hear it without ads, download the Fun with Stories app now. Welcome to Fun with Stories, the podcast where words come to life through exciting adventures and laugh-out-loud moments. Every episode, we take a tricky word, throw it into a fun-filled story featuring your favorite fairy tale and folk story characters, and make sure you'll never forget it. So, are you ready to learn new words the fun way with Little Red Riding Hood, Puss in Boots, the Gingerbread Man, Snow White, and more? Then let's jump into today's adventure on Fun with Stories.
The Cantankerous Carpenter. He could fix anything except his grumpy mood. Until one little helper brought more than just a hammer. On quiet mornings in Parker Street, the air smelled of fresh bread and warm pavement. Birds chirped, kids rode scooters, and neighbors waved across fences. But at the far end of the street stood a workshop that didn't quite match the cheer. It creaked in the wind, its sign hung crooked, and behind the dusty windows lived Mr. Harold, the best carpenter in town, and the grumpiest. Bang, bang, bang! The sound of hammering echoed. That board's too long, and this saw is too sharp. Children tiptoed past his fence. Even dogs barked softer near his door. Everyone knew Mr. Harold could fix anything, but he was also famously cantankerous. "Good morning, Mr. Harold," called Mrs. Bell. He just grunted. At home, Mrs. Bell stirred her tea and said, "Mr. Harold's always been cantankerous." Rhea blinked. "What does cantankerous mean?" Her mom smiled. "It often means angry, complaining, and difficult to get along with, even when there's no real reason to be." Rhea frowned. "Oh, like grumpy without a cause." She just went out after that to join her friends to play at the park. That week, a wild storm hit Parker Street. It rattled windows and snapped the wooden playground at Maple Park right in half. The next morning, the mayor gathered the townspeople. She said, "We need to fix the playground, but only one person knows how." Everyone glanced toward Mr. Harold's workshop. When the mayor knocked, he opened the door with sawdust in his beard. She said, "We'd be grateful for your help." He scratched his head. "I suppose I could, but I'll need helpers if they don't slow me down." On Saturday, Rhea and her friends showed up with hammers, paints, and big smiles. But working with Mr. Harold wasn't easy. "You're holding that wrong," he snapped at Tink. "That color's too bright," he groaned at Lila. "You call that measuring?" he muttered at Rhea. By lunchtime, 3 kids had left. "Why is he so like this?" Tink whispered. Rhea sighed. "He's cantankerous, which means often angry, complaining, and difficult to get along with, even when there's no real reason to be." By the second day, only Rhea and her brother George returned. Mr. Harold worked quietly, shoulders slumped. As they sanded the last board, Rhea said gently, "Do you like building alone now?" He paused. "Not really, but people stopped coming. I suppose being cantankerous doesn't help." He looked away, then added, "My mother called me that when I was young. It's an old word from Anglo-Norman, related to contentious. I guess it stuck."
Rhea smiled. It doesn't have to. He didn't reply, but that night he sat in his workshop for a long time, thinking. The next morning, Mr. Harold arrived early. He carried 2 boxes of cinnamon buns and a note that read, "Thanks for showing up." More kids came. He taught them how to sand without splinters, how to drill safely, and even laughed at George's crooked birdhouse. George nudged Rhea. "He's different now." She grinned. "Still a little cantankerous, which means often angry, complaining, and difficult to get along with. But now he's also kind." And when the last swing was hung, Mr. Harold looked around and gave a real quiet smile. He said to Rhea, "You helped fix more than just wood." And from then on, the workshop still creaked, but it also hummed with chatter, kindness, and the sweet scent of fresh cinnamon buns.
It's recap time. Let's remember the new word we learned today. The word is cantankerous. Spelling Cantankerous. Cantankerous. Meaning, cantankerous means angry, complaining, and difficult to get along with, even when there's no real reason to be. Synonyms: grumpy, cranky, grouchy, irritable. Antonyms: cheerful, friendly, easygoing, kind. Examples: "Don't talk to Grandpa until he's had tea," whispered Mom. "He's cantankerous before breakfast." Even the cats tiptoed around Mrs. Binks when she was in one of her cantankerous moods. So now you know, cantankerous means grumpy or difficult, even when there's no good reason. But sometimes a little kindness can change everything.
And that brings us to the end of today's adventure. We've explored a brand new word, had some fun with our favorite storybook characters, and now it's your turn to use it in real life. Want more fun stories and exciting words to learn? Download the Fun with Stories app for extra content, activities, and even more magical word adventures. Thanks for listening, and remember, words are powerful when you make them yours. See you next time on Fun with Stories.